Today I have been having fun with electricity tariffs. For some backstory, I got an email from my energy company today saying that energy prices will be going up in the next couple of months, which is probably not news to anyone. But it made me suddenly realise that I was at the end of my fixed deal and I was on the intelligent tariff with Octopus Energy. So I had cheap overnight charging for my electric vehicle. However, a while ago I did do some calculations that the Agile tariff could potentially be cheaper for me, especially if I use it cleverly. So I went and checked, and sure enough, my fix is up like imminently. So I went and applied to join the Agile tariff. Little did I know how good Octopus were and just how efficient they are. They immediately applied the tariff. I already had and I only realised this because I already had an integration in Home Assistant for the Octopus Energy. I wasn't really doing much with it yet, but I set it up because I saw it and I thought that was interesting, might prove useful in future. And I went into Home Assistant app after making my application, and it said right there that there's a problem with the integration. I thought, well, that's a bit weird. It said it needed to be reloaded. It reloaded, and boom, instantly updated with my current Agile price, which was both super impressive but a little bit annoying because it meant that I was suddenly under a lot of pressure to do some automating to improve the situation in my house. I think a lot of things were going to potentially make incorrect assumptions about energy prices and such, and I wanted that to actually be based on correct data, ideally before tonight when things like my washing machine run at 11:30 regardless before, because that was the beginning of my cheap window, and now maybe that wouldn't be the ideal cheap time for it to start. Maybe it needs to go half an hour or an hour later. So the very first thing I've managed to do is create a couple of helpers which are flags for electricity is currently below the threshold that I consider cheap and above a threshold that I consider expensive, and start throwing those into some automations so that they will only run when things are cheaper. And in future, I also plan to add one for when we get plunge pricing. So if the price of electricity units goes negative, I will be able to just turn everything on and maximize my usage to make money even. But the very first thing I've done is this light here. It was already actually sat here in my kitchen as a little sort of notification light, but since I've added some sort of notification lighting to this shelf behind me, that top bit changes colour, and it was just mirroring what this was doing anyway. This was no longer really important, so I've repurposed it, and it now displays my current sort of bracket of energy pricing. So it's currently orange, and I was rather hoping that the automation would have run by now. It's currently orange to say it's between 20 and 30p per unit, and really any second now that should change to yellow because it will drop below 20p for that half hour, and then after that it'll go to green if it's less than 10p, and it will show blue if it's less than 0 pence, aka plunge pricing, and obviously it will go red if it's above 30 pence. So that's a really useful tool. I think that's about as involved as I'm going to be able to get my wife in this whole process of saving energy on a half-hourly basis. She's not going to sit and look in an app to see what the current price is and whether or not she can put the oven on or wait half an hour. So that will be super useful. It's in the kitchen because I can actually see it all the way through into my living room if I want to check the price of something. And obviously automatically things like the freestanding aircon units that we have in our bedrooms will come on when it's cheap overnight, and the heaters in the winter that are out in our garden gym will come on overnight when it's below a certain price threshold. But you guys might find this cool. I've had to do all of this today because the Agile tariff switched over instantly. So I wasn't planning to do this today, but I've at least got this working, which is going to be super useful. So if you guys like this sort of stuff and you want to see more in depth of how I've done this or any of the other automations, remember to follow me, and remember, home is where the smart is.